The beauty of being a woman is that we are all unique. Our wants, needs, and values vary. Join us on this episode of The Wellness Pod as we explore the choices we make as women at home, as well as in our careers, and the ways in which our choices impact our lives and families in the grander scheme. This celebration of women is testament that there is indeed room for us all to flourish.
This episode was proudly brought to you by O3 Botswana. O3, live pure.
This is The Diner, Linkster featuring Sean Truiz, leading us into our not so timely discussion today on The Wellness Pod. 7:44 is your time on Gabs FM, power to engage your world. Thank you for choosing Gabs FM and thank you for choosing Purple Nights. That's the show that you're tuned into right now, between now and 10 p.m. And between 7:30 and 8:30 every Thursday evening, we've opened up a little circle here on Purple Nights called The Wellness Pod. We get to sit down with my very good friend and esteemed colleague, Miss Agatha Atlholang. The streets know her as Boss Lady AG. She's a gangster like that, all right? She's a certified wellness, fitness, and life coach. She's a trifecta. Do we call it that? Can we call it? Yeah, it's like a trident, right? Yes. Tonight we are kicking off a very special series on The Wellness Pod, and it is Women's Month. It's supposed to be, as Agatha, likes to say on the side, actually, this is Youth Month and women hijacked it, but, there's no time for that rant today. It is Women's Month, and that's the story that we're sticking to now. So
hijackers.
We hijacked it, and now we're running with it, all right? It is Women's Month, and so we'll be following along The Wellness Pod with 4 episodes dedicated to women, all right? And, I guess without further ado, let me take this time to welcome you, Agatha, as well as our guest right after you to The Wellness Pod. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. As always, well done to Gabs FM. Well done to you, Ross. And thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this. Happy Women's Month to everybody who's listening, to all the wonderful women out there. Baba Ikahang. And I hope you enjoy the show.
Right. So let's take a little bit of time to introduce our guest as well. You'll help me do that, Agatha. But the first, I guess, it's always the person who kicks off a series who is probably our most esteemed guest, yes, right? Yes. And we're kicking off this Women's Month with Dr. Tasneem Mitha. Mm-hmm. Tasneem, welcome to Purple Nights and welcome to The Wellness Pod.
Thank you so much for having me, Ross. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Right. Can we talk a little bit about what you do, Dr. Mitha, and, the sort of space you are in professionally?
So I have a dental background. I'm a specialist in prosthodontics, which means that I do advanced rehabilitative dentistry, in particular implant dentistry and cosmetic dentistry. That's been my focus for the last, I'd say, 5 to 7 years.
Right.
And then I've also specialized in facial aesthetics, which I've been practicing for the last 8 years. And that involves helping women to age gracefully.
Right.
A lot of preventative aging, a lot of, the feel-good stuff.
Right.
So that is my field, more or less. And I suppose you could call me a facial and dental aesthetic practitioner.
I love that. All right. So then let me swing it back to you, Agatha, and ask you, what is the premise of our discussion today? We have Dr. Mitha in studio and we're kicking off Women's Month. Where are we going to start with? There's a myriad of topics that we could discuss over the next few weeks. Very important things as well that I feel like, as women in Botswana that we need to get into. Where do we begin?
As a wellness coach, my priority is the well-being of women, mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
What I've seen over the years, and with this whole feminism movement, I have no problem with what women are, with their aspirations and them opening businesses and empowerment, economic empowerment. We all need that. But I also realize that while they were busy chasing that, they forget themselves.
Right.
Very focused on the externals, little focus on the internal, being who they are. So we have a bit of an issue here, the whole work-life balance thing.
Yeah.
Women are struggling to be moms, to be wives, and to run the businesses and to run the corporations. what we're finding now is that in as much as we wanted this, I mean, I'll be a hypocrite to say women must just stay home. I run my own business and I love it.
Of course.
Dr. Tasneem Mitha is actually my client. I'm her personal trainer. So for me, women like her, and that's one of the reasons why I decided that we should bring her on board to have a more balanced conversation about the importance of having a business, running a business, doing what sets your heart on fire. But at the same time, investing in your health so that you're not grumpy all the time when it comes to taking care of the kids. So that you're not grumpy all the time when you're with the husband,
Right.
Being able to run a home and manage a home.
Yeah.
And being able to still continue living the amazing life that you want to live. So today's show, it's a wellness show, but we've decided that, you know what, instead of breaking barriers, let's break barriers while taking care of ourselves.
Right.
It's really that simple.
Right.
If you look at the statistics right now, and this is what's going on, I mean, a lot of women in corporate, they're really, really struggling, where we have these issues of there's so much stress, so much to deal with, and we're doing what men do. We run to the bottle, drink alcohol, We're trying to run away from our issues. And at the same time, alcohol, you know what alcohol does? You put on weight.
Yeah.
And we've got this problem and we don't want to have this conversation. I mean, have your fun. I mean, I have my alcohol. It's not like I don't drink.
We're not saying don't.
We're not saying don't drink. We're saying be balanced in everything. I like Dr. Mitha has this, her profile, her status. You can have it all, but not all at one time. You know what I'm saying? Stages, as we've been talking.
Yes, we have.
So for me, this is why we're having this conversation, to bring people who are actually winning at it, at this work-life balance thing, to help our listeners to see, okay, where are you falling short? Maybe what you should do different.
To offer a different perspective. Because somehow you just need to hear how somebody else is doing something, not exactly to model what they've got going on and try to implement. I don't think any lifestyle is a one-size-fits-all.
100%.
But, as women, and we had this conversation, Dr. Mitha, last week, Agatha and I, to say that we are having community building, what are supposed to be community building conversations on this show. It's about wellness and holistic wellness, right? But what we are finding, which is why we have, I guess, even more fire to do a women's series over the next couple of weeks, is that we're not having women engagement on the show. I think the women are a little bit quiet, and now would be the time to step up so that we can have conversations. There's 3 women in studio right now, right? Yeah. There's usually just the 2 very loud ones. Now we've got a third one to offer a different perspective. So let's have the conversation and extend the conversation. If you are listening to us as a woman, your input is absolutely welcome. +267 3956 962 is our line on WhatsApp. You can call us on that same line as well, and I'm on SMS via 14962. So the conversation is open for all of us to have as women, as it will be over the next few weeks, right?
Yeah. So Ross, that's really why we're here today. And the beauty of it also is that we are 3 different generations of women. Yeah. You understand? So it's open to everybody. We're looking at 30, 40 and, late 40s. So it's going to be a great conversation. Join in, guys.
Yeah, I thought Dr. Mitha was in my generation. She's wearing Adidas. She's wearing Adidas Sambas, and I'm like, I don't even have a pair of Adidas Sambas. Do you know what those are, Agatha?
Let me say, I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40.
But look at how amazing she looks.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I always tell Tasneem, I'm like, you know what? I want to look like that when I'm your age, you know? And you need people who you can model, who inspire you, who put in the work and show you, you know what, you don't give up on life, and just because you're getting older, it doesn't mean, you should completely forget about you.
I hear you, and I'm really excited. I'll start off by saying, before we get to your line of questioning for Dr. Mitha, is I am ready to learn from this as much as the next person, and as much as the ladies that I hope are tuned into this episode. I'll be 30 in a couple of months.
Yes.
And yeah, I have a lot of learning to do as well. I want to look like you guys when I get to your age. And I also want a balanced life. I am at a stage where it is my career that's at the forefront of my life, at the age that I'm at. But I also do really want a family. Yeah. And that is the premise of today's conversation. I suppose is work-life balance. How do we not have it all at the same time, but have it all, but at different times, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe we can now, start your conversation with Dr. Mitha.
I think my first question, this is what I'd like to know. I mean, Tasneem is very interesting. She's a Muslim woman.
Yes.
And, I think sometimes we have this misconception that Muslim women just stay home with the kids and then that's just it, So for me, I want to know, okay, you were at MAP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just give us a background of that. And how did you end up here running your own business and doing what you do?
Yeah, so I grew up here in Botswana. I've lived here all my life. I did my primary education, my secondary education. I went away for tertiary education, came back, got married. My husband is from here. I think
tertiary where?
I was in South Africa. At Wits University. Okay. I worked in the UK for a while before coming back. And I think I've always been a very ambitious person, always having large visions in my life of wanting to achieve big things. I suppose you can say an overachiever. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, just coming back to Botswana after living abroad for so many years and getting into my profession and, getting married, having kids, it just sort of all falls into place.
Yeah.
You just get into the whole routine of things. I can't say I wanted anything different.
Yeah.
I always wanted to have a career.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be very good at my career.
Yeah.
But I didn't let marriage and children stop that.
Yeah.
In fact, when I went back to do my master's degree, I had 2 babies while I did my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
So it was a 4 years clinical master, and I had my first child in my second year and my second child in my 4th year. And it was a clinical master's, which is really, really very difficult and very demanding. I mean, you have ward rounds at 7 a.m. in the morning. You have to be in theater at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I'm very grateful that I had a fantastic support system. I had my mother and my husband, and I had a wonderful support. But mentally, you have to have the focus and the vision of what you want to accomplish. And no matter what comes your way in life, you just have to look at it not as an obstacle, but as a stepping stone to take you to the next point. And I think for me, that's what has got me to this point. It would have been very easy in my second year of master's to have said, I've got a child now, I can't carry on. And, I'm going to just stay at home and be a mom. But in my mind, I knew I had to finish. And I had places to go and I had things to do.
Yeah.
So I was determined to get that done. And I didn't let having children stop me. And that's another thing I like to tell the youth of today is that, there's no special time in life for things. A lot of youth will say, I'm going to wait till this age to get married, and then I'm going to wait to finish this, and then I'm going to have kids, and then I'm going to wait for this to happen, and then only I'll buy a house or whatever. Life is not compartmentalized.
And it's not linear.
It isn't. Life is life. You have to just go with the flow and everything will come. Babies come, studies come, marriage comes, homes comes, everything just comes as you're going along. You should never compartmentalize things because before you know it, you'll be 40, 50 and you haven't had the children that you wanted or the home that you wanted or the career that you wanted.
Yeah.
So I say when you have the opportunity, grab it by the horns. Don't wait for a better time because that better time may or may not come.
Do for me what I'm picking up from what she's saying? Okay, we've got different personalities. Right? You've got cholerics, you've got melancholics, you've got phlegmatics, you've got sanguines. You've got different kinds of people. And yes, our personalities do affect our decision-making process, right? But one thing I can tell you about Tasneem is she's very choleric. She's like a go-getter and this and that. And I think when you are that kind of person, the most important thing is to focus on what you want. Know what you want, because that's really what I'm picking up from the conversation that she's just had right now. That if you are not going to sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to have a business, I want to go to school, I want to have a family, I want to have children. You've got to know what you want.
Yeah.
It's called vision, Agatha. And honestly, you're a life coach.
Yeah.
And I think I've asked you this question once before, Aggie. What do you think about vision boards?
Yeah.
And vision boards are a new thing.
Yeah.
That these wellness coaches and life coaches are advocating these days, is to visualize your goals using a vision board, where you can put pictures of anything that you're aspiring to, whether it's ambitious, career, home, travel, relationships, whatever it is that you're wanting in your life, you put it on a vision board, and you look at this vision board every single day, and you propel yourself towards those goals. But it's so funny that all my life I've had a mental vision board. For me, my visions have always been in my mind, and I've always made decisions that work towards those visions. And that is how you accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. You have to have visions and goals. And sometimes it takes me 2 years to get to a vision, or 5 years to get to a vision. This whole aesthetic thing, it took me 5 years.
Yeah.
But I had a vision 5 years ago and said, I want to open up the first aesthetic clinic in Botswana.
Yeah.
And it was just a seed that sprouted. Yeah. And I worked towards that goal over the next 5 years tirelessly.
Yeah.
And Aggie, I've been training tirelessly, traveling all the time, getting multiple qualifications. So without a vision, you're not going to get very far in life. You have to have goals and work towards them.
So
100%.
what I picked up, in the short time that Dr. Mitha spoke was you picked up just her personality and the fact that she's driven naturally and, that's the fire that leads her to sort of, but what I picked up from you, Dr. Mitha, as well, is that it's also the support that you have.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that.
So, it's all good and well if you are ambitious and you are a go-getter, but like you're saying, you can't compartmentalize your life. You can't say, I'll do it when the kids are maybe need less support from me when they're this age, or when I'm at that age, or when my husband is this, when my husband is that. Life is constantly happening, right? So if you don't have a support structure, you don't have your mom or your family or your husband that's going to endorse your goals as well, to say, because you have to, when you do build a family, there are very few decisions that you can make on your own to serve yourself without involving the rest of your structure. How does this affect my children? How does this affect my husband and the broader family, looking at, in the long term? So if you don't have that kind of support, can we just speak, Agatha, to the fact that, just bringing in support for the goals that we have in life?
I think right now where we are as women, a lot of us are single. A lot of us are struggling in terms of our relationships. And a lot of us have partners who are not supportive. A lot of us do have issues in our marriages. And this speaks to that. As Batswana, how do we choose our partners as well? And do we understand as women, as Black women, the importance of having masculinity? And when we talk about masculinity, we're talking about a man who's in his divine power. If you look at the Muslim community, a lot of these men are very religious men. And this is not to say all our men are bad, but I always feel, one of the reasons we struggle in our relationships as women is that we choose men who are not in touch with the divine. Now, it starts there. So if you're driven, you have all these things that you want to do, now you have this guy who has no problem making a baby with you before you finish. He hasn't even married you. And you've got all these things that you want to do. Here you are now, you're stuck with a baby, you're not married, you're cohabiting. He's okay with you cohabiting with him. Next thing, and you know what happens to our situation, You have a child, you cohabit, and then you break up. So there's also that. What kind of men are we choosing? And that's our responsibility. It's not on the men, actually. Because at the end of the day, your husband chooses you, you choose your husband. So these are the things that we need to imitate from other cultures as well. Imitate the good things from different cultures as well as our own culture, because our culture has never said we should have children out of wedlock. That's us.
Yeah.
That's modern day people.
Yeah.
I think it's true what you're saying, again. It's a very important aspect of it. But I think another very important aspect, to be honest with you, is that women today want to be the male take on the male role.
Yeah.
They want to be the woman and the man and the mother and the father and everything else in the relationship. And I think culturally, the distinguishing factor here is that a lot of women in my culture, we let the men take on the role of the men.
Yeah.
You know, the providers and the breadwinners and all of that. And we have the freedom then to pursue our own goals and ambitions without them feeling any lesser.
Because you don't have the burden of providing, so that causes you not to want to be masculine.
In some circumstances, it is true. But I think we're just brought up culturally to recognize that the male has a role,
and the female has her role.
Has a role.
Yeah.
And the man's role is defined, and the woman's role is to nurture and to bring, look after the children and look after the home and all of that. But there's nothing stopping you from reaching your visions and your goals and your ambitions. Yeah. But within the spaces of
the roles.
Woman, and not stepping on anyone else's territory. So I think that's also an important aspect.
Yeah. Without compromising your femininity.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Because if you look at what's happening now, women today, I mean, the moment you start supporting a man in terms of now you're the one doing everything. Do you know how many women who make money disrespect such men? And it's because it's a natural thing. Women are what you call hypergamous. Okay.
They marry up.
Women marry up or same level.
Right.
Men marry down.
Right.
Yeah. So now the thing is, at the end of the day, the more you work, the more you go into your masculine, the more you work without any help, it's you. You start to take on your masculine. That's why you get irritated when the kids come, mommy, look what we do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When the husband is like, hi, babe, listen, I just leave me.
Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, dude, that's a home. That's when nurturing happens.
And I blame the women. Honestly, I don't blame the men.
Yeah, because
I blame the women for not accepting their roles as mothers and as wives. And
absolutely. But also, Tasneem, I mean, our conversation as well as women is, listen, it's okay even if you can't find that kind of man. Don't force a relationship that is not allowing you to show up in your femininity.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to understand. I always say to the young people, hey, Mujolo Abojwana is on life support. Yeah, just take a break. It's okay.
Just leave each other alone.
Exactly.
Focus on yourself.
Focus on yourself so that you can then, at the end of the day, vibrate on a higher frequency and then attract somebody who's on your level, who's doing what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't have to force this marriage thing, force this thing. And then jiki after 3 years, you're getting divorced. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Crickets.
Because it's terrifying.
It is.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. 8:07 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. If you're just tuning into this very heated discussion that's probably has you sweating a little bit like it has me, this is the Wellness Pod. That's exactly what you're tuned into. We do this every Thursday between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. Tonight, we are kicking off our brand new series for Women's Month, right? And we're going to be having guests in studio. It's not just going to be Agatha and Ross just talking back and forth, talking your ear off, but we will have some really great women in studio like we have this evening. Dr. Tasneem Mitha is in studio with us, and we're talking about work-life balance. How do you as a woman have it all? Of course, not at the same time, but have it all still. And what really is your role in your home, in your own life, and in society as a broader, in the bigger picture of things.
And I think that's the next thing. What's the difference between who are you and what are you?
Right?
Yeah.
All right. We'll have that conversation in just a little bit. Stay tuned. This is Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. Your time is 8:08. It's 12 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. Welcome back to the Wellness Pod. That's what you're tuned into at the moment. Between 7:30 and 8:30 every Thursday evening, we have built a little space here, opened a little circle in order to have community building conversations. This month is very special, near and dear to our hearts, the hosts of the Wellness Pod here, Agatha and myself, because it is Women's Month, right? So we are going to be having very necessary conversations with some ladies, and tonight we have chosen to kickstart the series off with Dr. Tasneem Mitha, and we're talking about work-life balance. I feel like we have this conversation superficially a lot.
Yeah.
We have it in passing a lot.
Yeah.
We have it from a place of inexperience a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like it's a good thing that we're sitting down and having this conversation right now. I need to be listening more than talking during this conversation as well. Please don't listen more than you talk. If you have anything to say, you're absolutely welcome to via our WhatsApp line, +267 3956 962, and SMS on 14962. So before we were talking about just the role of a woman so that she can have the kind of balance she seeks in her family, in her own personal life, as well as in her career as well. And now, Agatha, what would you recommend we move on to now to talk about?
I think right now, the biggest question is the difference between, okay, we hear you, Agatha, and Dr. Taz, you're busy talking about, hey, we should do this, we should do that. But, let's have this conversation here, the difference between running your own business and being in corporate, and how these two allow you or don't allow you, to be in your feminine, to be able to balance your life, to be able to do a lot of stuff. Because, I run my own business. Taz runs her own business. Running your own business means you're in charge of your time. I remember when I was in corporate, right? And even as young as I was back then, I knew I could not have children in this kind of space for me, because I was up early in the morning, and then there I was as well in the evening. And I also saw my mom do this, but for some reason, my mom, I think because she was at a higher position, she could kind of like just do stuff. It was easier for her. She had more time, more time on her hands and stuff like that. She was teaching young girls how to do stuff, and she had people surrounding her, helping her out. Now, let's talk about that. Tasneem, what's your take on that? You're running your own business. There are times when you're like, okay, I'm working from home and I'm doing this. And I'm like, hey, lifestyles of the rich and famous. There are people who are just living life, And
I'm sure it's not as easy as she makes it sound.
Oh, she just makes it. We sort of Tasneem makes life look like it's easy.
And it's probably not, which is why we're having this conversation, right?
4 kids, a husband, a big home, a business.
I have neither, and I'm losing my mind.
This is the same lady who was running Chelsea. You remember Chelsea Adinala?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please go
madam.
ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Agatha, that, it's different for women who are in the corporate environment and different if you're running your own business. Absolutely. When you're running your own business, you are your own boss.
Yeah.
You can choose your hours, you can choose your times, especially if you're a professional like I am.
Yeah.
I can get to choose the days that I'm working, the hours that I'm working. I can, start early, leave early, those kind of things. If I have to attend a swimming gala at school, for instance, or a soccer match, I can take an hour or two off.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it is easier if you're running your own business. But running your own business also comes with a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
You're responsible for a lot more than you are, I think, if you are in corporate.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I've not worked in corporate before. But I think when you're in corporate, a lot of the structure and responsibility gets taken care of for you. You're really just there to do your thing.
You fill one role.
Yeah.
Whereas when
Exactly.
you have your own company, you wear lots of different hats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're wearing, and if something breaks down, a staff member doesn't come to work, there's no power, whatever
It's
the
all
case
on
may be,
you.
something has run out, it's all on you. So don't get me wrong, running your own business is not such a piece of cake either. It comes with its own responsibilities, and you should be fully prepared to go into that as well. But yeah, it does give you the flexibility that you need to do the things that you want to do. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to choose the days that I work and the days that I need to be at home to see to the kids or to do whatever I need to do in the home. And I don't work from home, Aggie, because I need to be in my clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can't work from home. I can't see patients from home.
Oh, wow.
But you can do admin from home or, whatever else it is. So, it's also about the choices that you make in life. You choose the path that you want to go. And if you know you're someone who wants to be a mom and you want to have a home, you're going to fall into a role that's going to allow you to have that flexibility. I believe so.
And I also think that, the thing with corporate and running your own business, honestly, running your own business is hard work. If I don't work, I don't get a salary, Ghana. If I don't run around, I don't get a salary.
The hours you're not in your business, you're not earning money.
You're not earning money. You know that whether you deliver or you don't, you're 100%. Getting your salary.
But if you're in retail, you don't need to be there. Yeah. Because retail is generating money. If you're in corporate, you're still getting a salary, even if you're not there.
Yeah.
But in especially in my line of business, I am my income.
Yeah.
If I'm not in my clinic, I'm not earning money.
Absolutely.
So can you ladies then, I'm asking the both of you, right? For somebody listening to this right now who is maybe on my side of the spectrum as well, who is running their own business, either does or doesn't have a husband and children. But how would you advise the both of you separately, how then I stop myself from entering a masculine sort of aura or, becoming too masculine? Because like you're saying, your business needs you if you're running a business. If you are not there, if you are not on all the time, you're not earning. That energy comes with a lot of masculine energy, a lot of provider energy, a lot of if I don't get this done, nobody else will, kind of thing. How do I avoid not becoming that?
Tasneem, do you want to
I think that's a good point that you're making, Ross. And I think having a good team is very important. Having people you can depend on and having people who can have your back. That keeps you sane to a very large extent. So being able to share responsibility makes your life a lot easier, I think
for me, especially doing the work that I do and having the clients that I have in terms of my coaching practice, we've got to understand that there's also an element of being conscious, being alert, being aware, and really delving into what is it that you want from life and understanding the consequences that come with choosing certain professions, what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
We don't go off. And one thing I can tell you is this. I was traumatized by corporate through my mom. What traumatized me, I can honestly, and I'm going to be honest about this. I started my business from a place of trauma. When I was 18 years old, thieves broke into our home. They slit my mom's wrist. She was trying to protect us. My father was on a trip. That's why he was not there. My mother got retrenched. Luckily for my mom, at 16, my father taught me how to drive. So when this happened, I'm the firstborn, so I started driving my mom around. So I was always the cool girl with the car.
Yeah.
Without a driver's license. So then I thought to myself, my mom then gets retrenched. Luckily for her, she had a business on the side.
Yeah.
And remember, her daughter is still in private school. And I thought to myself, okay, so what would have happened to my mother? Here she is, she's in corporate. Now she doesn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
What? My sister now has to leave school, go to a government school. And that thing has always stuck in my mind. Okay, you can't put your eggs in one basket. And then I didn't like corporate. It's not that I didn't like corporate. I didn't like the environment. Right. And other people can survive there. It's fine. But that thing was there until I found what I really wanted, and I'm flowing in it and I'm loving it. And it's not a trauma thing. It's actually, I realize that now it's a calling for me. So it's very important to understand the profession you're going into. and what it looks like. Surround yourself with women who can tell you the truths about this. If you're thinking into, okay, I want to be a dentist, talk to somebody who's already a dentist.
Yeah.
Have that conversation with a woman who's already a dentist and say, listen, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? The problem with us in Botswana is that we don't have proper career guidance. And on top of that, we don't have real life conversations with people who are actually flourishing and having issues in what we aspire to do.
Yeah.
Which is imitating them. And in coaching, we have this thing called mirroring. You know, it's like you're modeling someone's life is working, and then you look at that and you're thinking, okay, how do I model this for me? That makes sense for me.
Right.
So it's important to be conscious about what you're doing. These kids right now, I mean, we're surrounded by a team of young people who are doing amazing things, digital, what, and all of that. But the thing is, they also need mentors so that they know. Mentorship is so important, especially for the young people. And also, older women must be very honest.
Mentorship. Be honest.
Be honest.
Don't present something that isn't the truth because somebody's modeling you.
Tasneem, I can tell you now, I've always said, like, I love my work. I'm up at 4 o'clock. 5, I'm in the gym.
Sending Ross messages at 6. I'm not awake.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's me.
Yeah.
But I've always thought to myself, but I can't have a family. What? I'm going to wake up, my child doesn't see me. I'm going to come back, my child doesn't see me. You know, and what time do I have for my husband? You know, those are questions that, and I was willing to do because I've never wanted to have children, but it worked for me. Now, what about the girl who looks at Agatha and thinks, but I want to be a person, but this is so cool, but she wants to get married.
You have
she
to be honest and
children.
say, listen, if you're going to have my lifestyle,
know that you're going to have to start at 9 o'clock. You're going to have a proper support system because, I mean, like also Russ, you know, morning glory, like, you know, sometimes, you know, like, what are you going to do?
You said something that stuck with me that I want to talk to you ladies about.
Yeah.
And you said flow, right?
Yeah.
I'm very invested in the word flow because I read a book recently, Ikigai.
Yeah.
Ikigai talks about, it's a Japanese word and a Japanese principle, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about flow being just where you have finally found a rhythm and your space and you wake up every day and you're comfortable doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for somebody who hasn't read the book, maybe we can just go over the principles of Ikigai, right? So it is the joining or the connection of what you can be paid for, that's your profession, what the world needs, your vocation, or rather what the world needs is your mission, what you love, your passion, what you're good at, your profession, and what you can be paid for, your vocation. So when you bring all of those things together, you need to look at what you can be paid for, because I think that's what where society is running from right now is there's a cost of living crisis ongoing right now. Yeah. At the moment, and I'll tell you this from somebody who's 30 years old in the economy right now, we are looking at things based on what we can be paid for only. Passion out the window, right? Yeah. So you need what you can be paid for, what the world needs as well. Where's the gap, right? What do you love? And what are you good at? Yeah. So would you ladies say that you have found that balance?
For me personally, I am loving my space and what I'm doing. I would do this eyes closed. I would do this for free. Yeah. I do a lot of social development work. I mean, that's what I do. I love having real conversations with people. I love watering into the lives of people. You know, that's me. I cannot. It's like Ross, I'm even starting to realize, and I think it was even worse that I went to Europe. You know, I came back and I was like, you know what? I'm so over a lot of things where I'm chilling and we're having alcohol and we're talking about this and that. We're not really having meaningful conversations. Like I'm in that space. That's who I am. Yeah. So I found my thing. Wellness is my thing.
Right. And Dr. Mitha, where are you?
You know, it's interesting because, like I said, I have a dental background. So I was a dentist for many, many years and I hated it. I hated it. I was doing it because I had to do it and for the sake of doing it and because it's what I had studied and what I knew best. But I found avenues that led me out of that profession that I hated. And it gave, the profession gave me the ability to explore.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that background, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to go into the field that I am in. It gave me the opportunity to explore avenues that I found more interesting and that I had more passion about.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with Agatha. I love what I do. I'm absolutely passionate about it. I can do it with my eyes closed. I can talk about it the whole day.
Yeah.
And you'll see the passion and
Yeah.
the glint in my eye.
Yeah.
I love it. I love helping women feel good about themselves. I love advising people about
Yeah.
things. I love learning about what's out there and what it can do for you. I love feeling good about myself
Yeah.
and taking care about myself because I know that's impacting other women. And
Yeah.
like you say, mentorship.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see young women, they look to people for mentorship. You know, how are you doing it? What are you doing? You know, they want
to
want
know.
answers
Yeah.
and they want to know. And I love having the opportunity to meet different people,
Yeah.
you know, who are different stages of their lives and making their lives slightly better,
Right.
you know, improving their confidence levels.
Right.
And so I am in a space that I'm absolutely enjoying. And I feel if you are passionate about something, it's not work.
Yeah.
It never becomes work.
Never.
It becomes
Never.
It becomes a joy in the morning to wake up and go to work.
And I think also to add on to that, you know somebody loves what they're doing. You know, Tasneem will literally say to me, and I'm like, okay, she's going to leave now. She's going off for some course in the UK or something. I'm not going to get paid. Okay. That means she's gone for a whole week. I've just lost X amount of money.
Yeah.
But I just love that because I am the same. I'm always investing in myself, getting the qualifications.
For sure.
And I think that's why for me, when I went for Botox, I was like, I'm not going to do it with anybody else except her because I literally know the amount of work. Like, she's so passionate about it. You'll be like, Eggs, I have to go.
She's
I've got
not
this
trying
new
to just
thing.
sell you
No,
aesthetics. She
she's not.
believes in.
And Taz will tell
Right.
you, she will really tell you, no, you don't need that. You don't need that. Don't be out here now because
Ethics.
you are looking at Instagram and you are, you know. I love that about her. And I think that's how you get to really see how passionate people are. It's the same thing with me, you know, like I put so much work into the stuff that I'm doing to be better, to get the knowledge, you know. And that's just it. Passion does that. You're constantly reading, trying to get to learn.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And you should never arrive.
Yeah.
At your where you know you should
100%.
once you have a goal and you've gotten to that goal, that doesn't mean you've arrived. You need to you pursue something bigger and higher
Yeah.
than that, and that's
Yeah.
how you grow in a field, and that's what makes you better.
Right.
And I feel that I always tell my patients, I say, you know, I'm not just here as a doctor to treat you.
Yeah.
I'm as invested in your results as you are.
Yeah.
So as much as you want to see that result, I want to see it more.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of you.
For me, it's a reflection of who I am and what I am doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's also important is to be accountable. You must have accountability for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that keeps you on your toes.
On your toes.
8:30 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. I don't know if you can hear it over the airwaves, but there's so much more light now in the studio. As soon as they started talking about their passions, now their faces are brighter and the studio energy just feels that much better. Please engage with us, +26739569662. That's our line on WhatsApp, or you can call us on that same number. 14962 is our SMS line as well. We haven't got a lot of time left, so we're going to take a break and then wrap it up in a few minutes. All right, 8:30 again is your time on Gabs FM. Good evening. 8:36 is your time on Gabs FM, Power to Engage Your World. If you're still with us, thank you so much for choosing Gabs FM, by extension the Purple Nights, and by extension of that, the Wellness Pod, right? I get to do this every Thursday between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. Running a little over today because it's Women's Month. That's our excuse. If I get called into the office tomorrow and they say, Ross, I'm just going to pull the women card and I'm going to say, but sir, you know it's Women's Month and
you know we talk.
need these conversations to build the community, and then I get away with it and then life moves on, right? So that's what we're doing right now, in conversation with Dr. Tasneem Mitha and my good friend and colleague Agatha Atlholang, just talking about work-life balance for women.
Yes.
You know, how can we balance balance, right? We can have careers, we can have thriving personal life, marriages, children, and even businesses. But, we've got to find a balance. And like we have said and continue to say throughout this conversation is there is no one size fits all formula. The key is in learning and in being present as well as just knowing yourself, right? Yeah. And then how to proceed. So I think to wrap up our discussion, because we've only got about 10 minutes left, I think we should then talk about just over-identifying with your profession. You know, what happens to you as a career woman when you've invested so much? Maybe you've even built a business and this has become you. It's now your identity. When someone asks you, I remember I was in a personal development sort of program with Agatha, my very first one. And the very first assignment was, take a piece of paper. The piece of paper question number 1 says, who are you? We came back the next week on the Saturday. The responses going around the room. I'm a mom, I'm a radio presenter and I do this and I do that. And she looked at all of us. She said, okay, that's what you do, but who are you? Right? There is a point, and it happens to a lot of us, where we assume the role of our profession. It becomes us, right? Yeah. And, I think then I want to talk to you ladies about how to not get to that point where even if you do close the business, or if the business closed down, or if something happens, because life is life, right? How do you disconnect from your job and not be that thing?
Yeah. I had a business around 2017, 2018. I opened up a business in the beauty industry, and I worked really hard at it. I invested everything I had in it. I invested all my time. Aggie, how hard I worked to build that business. And it was a young business. It was only 2 years old, and COVID hit. And unfortunately, that just threw us off the rails. We were too young to survive COVID. And being in the beauty industry, it was so unpredictable. When will we had to close very early on in COVID, and when will we be able to reopen?
It basically wasn't essential.
So it was really such a bad timing for such a young business. It threw us off the rails, and I had to close the business down. And I lost a lot of money, a lot of investment in that business. And of course, it's very demoralizing. But I've learned along the way that failure is such an important life lesson. Such an important life lesson. You learn so much from failure. You learn resilience. You learn strength. You learn to be better. You learn to rise stronger afterwards. Never be afraid of failure. You need to be able to take it by its horns and get something bigger and better out of it. In retrospect, if I look back at it, I feel it made me a stronger person, a better businesswoman, more focused in what I'm doing now. It's given me the tools to run my business in a much more successful way. And I think another important thing to learn from failure is that you learn that you're not in control of everything. And for me, I feel that's what gives me the peace, if I can put it that way, is that sometimes you're not in control. You just have to accept it, and that makes it a little bit easier. And I also honestly believe that everything happens for a reason. So if things don't work out the way that you want them to, it just wasn't meant to be. Maybe God is taking you away from something that was worse for you. Opening other doors for you. I always say, when one door closes, 10 other doors open for you. So you should never let failure or those negative experiences in life get to you. You should always just resign yourself to them and learn from them and grow from them.
So I think in what Tasneem is really putting out there is that you're still yourself. Focus on the authentic you, your values, okay? And once you understand your values, you understand that this is how life is, and you have a certain level of wisdom. You don't make this thing all of you, whether it comes or goes.
Failure doesn't define you.
Yeah. You know?
That was a hard lesson to learn, that it didn't define me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, you should understand that you could be this top person in the organization or whatever, you know, you still have a life outside of that. And for me as a coach, I always tell people, as you go through life, don't forget that there's who you are and what you are. What you are is the profession. Who you are is the person after the profession, how people relate with you after you're no longer their boss. Are you still going to go into a bank and people still give you that respect and they say, Atlholang, yeah, skip the line, come through, you know? So as you are building your business, as you are working in corporate and climbing the corporate ladder, understand that you are still a human being who needs to nurture various relationships. Understand that umuntu.
Right. Right.
Because today you have your job, today you have your business, tomorrow you don't. So as you invest in your qualifications, invest in your person.
100%.
That is you.
Yes.
So that even when these things, you know, totally evaporate.
Actually, that
okay.
is, I've learned, I don't know where I learned this, but this person was talking about core confidence.
Yes.
When we speak about core confidence, I think people think they look at confidence from a superficial perspective and a point of view, right? But core confidence is, you know, if you sit here and somebody strips you naked of everything that you hold dear, the business goes, the marriage goes, the car goes, the big salary goes. Do you still exist? Are you still there?
And remember what happened during COVID. We had people popping champagne, putting pictures on Facebook. The moment all that money went, people, lockdowning, people lost their jobs. Those people totally vanished from Facebook.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of my mom. My mom's business was doing so well. When she got retrenched, you know, she was just throwing her toys out and she was so, she had been in that place for years.
Yeah.
She had literally built a team. You know, it was her baby. It was her thing.
Yeah.
And what my mother failed to recognize for some time was that her business was actually doing better than the salary she was getting in corporate.
Yeah.
And I think...
And she had now the time and energy to invest in her business.
Exactly. It took her a while. But I'm thankful that she did get there. And this is what women need to understand, that we are so many things in one and that we shouldn't over-identify with our businesses and our professions. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow. And I'd like to state, build your profession while you're building your family. Because and yourself. Because you don't want to be the mother tomorrow after you've left your job. Your kids are gone. You're miserable. You don't even know who your husband is. Even you as a husband, you don't know who your wife is anymore. And the kids are gone. There's no business. There's nothing. You're looking at each other like you're strangers.
Yeah.
Corporate and business or whatever, those things have an expiry job.
Yeah.
At an expiry date.
Yeah.
You know, so let us build these businesses and build our families and also build, you know, the relationships that we have, our friends who tomorrow when we don't have these businesses, we still have a community around us. And I think the last thing, Ross, real quick.
Yeah.
Spirituality, the role, Tasneem, that spirituality plays in your life as a woman. Can you speak on that real quick? How important is it for us to connect with a higher being?
I think it's really it's the cornerstone of my life.
Yeah.
It gives you direction in your life. Like I said, it helps you to let go of things, especially if things are not working your way. It gives you peace in times of turbulence. It gives you calm in times of frenzy. For me, prayer and spirituality and religion are just as important as career and ambition and work.
Just reliance on something bigger than you.
Yeah.
This is it. And like I said, you know, realizing that you're not in control of everything.
Yeah.
And I think an important point that you also brought up, Agatha, is, you know, investing in family, investing in you as well. And, you know, you always say to me, I'm so proud of you. You make the time, you come to gym, you eat healthy, you live a healthy lifestyle.
100%.
That's me investing in myself. Because like you say, professions and jobs and businesses have an expiry date.
You're not taking them to the grave either.
But you need to look
True.
after yourself if you want to perform better.
Yeah.
In your different roles in life, as
Absolutely.
a woman, as a mother, as a wife, as a partner, and as a professional, you need to be in a healthy space and
State of mind.
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, we have spoken for a really long time. All right, there's a WhatsApp here that reads, "Good evening, Ross, listening to Boss Lady and Dr. Taz, and I believe that striking a good work-life balance requires us women to define our own balance. Work-life balance isn't about having equal parts work and personal life. Instead, it's about what creates a fulfilling and sustainable life for you as a woman. This involves setting clear boundaries between work and personal time.
100%.
Consciously, is this person a life coach?
I think so.
Consciously prioritizing tasks, which includes learning to say no to things that overload you and ruin your role, and effectively
100%.
managing our time. I love that I get to learn from the show. I'm listening all the way from SA. Thank you.
We learned from you.
Well done.
Thank you so much. I like that. So we can have more of this over the course of our Women's Month series here on the Wellness Pod. I'm very excited, and I'm really, above all things, grateful to the both of you. You, Dr. Mitha, for coming in and just like offering a different perspective to what we are accustomed to, what I'm accustomed to as well, and you, Agatha, of course, for doing what you do on a weekly basis here. I appreciate the both of you so much, and I'm grateful for your having come on the show today.
Such a pleasure. It was so wonderful to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
Ross, your
we
mom
can do
should
that
be
again.
so proud of
I hope she is. Is she listening to this show, Mom? Are you listening? Oh man.
Dr. Taz, I think for me, thank you so much for always opening your heart to my little shenanigans and me calling you to come and do certain things. Like, I love you, baby, and I'm so proud of you, and you inspire me, and you're
you,
just
Maggie.
amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, ladies. 8:49. I want you to know that that's the time right now, so that when
And I
I
have
get
to be at the gym at 7 a.m.
reprimanded. Okay, 8:49 is your time on Gavs FM, Power to Engage Your World. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wellness Pod. We can do this again next week, Thursday, between 7:30 and 8:30. All right. Cheers. Thank you.
This episode was proudly brought to you by O3 Botswana. O3, live pure.
For my people.